Stephen, great start to your season. I mean, coming now away from home, what are the aims and objectives?
Well, one game at a time, really. Yeah, we've had a good start. We put a lot of preparation into the Hurricanes game. There was a lot of pre-season chat about the Hurricanes because they were the team that knocked us out last year. So we spent a fair bit of time prepping for that game with a view to sort of getting a bit of momentum into the competition, and thought we did that quite well. And we've played 3 different games now, so the Hurricanes, it probably blew out a little bit. There was a lot of hype around the Waratahs game at home against arguably the next best Australian side. And we had a really big crowd there that night, so there was a lot of emotion in that game. And then we had our first game on the road last week against the Force, and that was a tough game. And we found 3 different ways to win these last 3 games. And I'm sure this weekend will be another difficult game and will pose its own challenges for the team once they get out there.
Yeah. Steve, are you surprised at, or maybe not surprised, but is it sort of business as usual that teams that you think are going to be really strong, or perhaps not as strong as you thought, and others are better than you thought, like the Force and Hurricanes?
Yeah, I think it's, we probably caught the Hurricanes on a bit of a hop there. And the Force game, speaking to the boys after that, it was one of the more physical games that they've played in the last sort of 2 months, including trial games. So I think what you find at the start of the season is teams haven't quite found their rhythm, and we've probably been lucky enough to get teams who weren't quite in the groove yet. And we've probably come into the season pretty strong, good preparation, and the guys are enjoying their rugby at the moment. So things have worked out pretty well for us so far, but I'd expect from here on in teams will start to find their groove a little bit more.
Steve, were you, in the off-season, obviously everything that happened with the Stormers, was there an element of surprise over their decision to appoint an inexperienced coach in Robbie Fleck, and how do you think he's gone?
I guess I really haven't followed them that closely. It's been a pretty good start to the season for them. What are they, top of the conference? Their conference? Yeah, so I mean that's pretty good. I wouldn't say Robbie's inexperienced. He's been a professional rugby player for as long as I was, and he was brilliant in his own right as a rugby player, and he's been coaching for a number of years now. So I think it was always going to be a natural progression for him to get to this position at some stage, and maybe it's a little bit quicker than he would have expected or other people would have expected, but I'm sure he's doing a great job.
And have you noticed any differences in the way that they've been playing under him, given their intentions to kind of play a more expansive game?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty evident that they're certainly throwing the ball around a little bit more. Their defence is still fairly strong. But I think in the first round they had the best tackle completion in the comp. So yeah, I guess that's what you want to do as a coach of a team. You want to make sure that what was strong in the past remains strong, and if you can tinker with stuff then and get a better outcome, then you certainly want to do that. And what we've seen so far is that they are certainly throwing the ball around a little bit more and being a little bit more expansive with their play.
Steve, does that make it maybe a little bit easier for you? I mean, last week the Sharks played almost no rugby, just tackled, kicked, defended, forced turnovers, scored tries. Stormers played a lot of rugby and obviously lost that match. That seems to be the way that pro games go. Would it not be better for you guys if the Stormers try to attack David Pocock and Scott Fardy with ball in hand?
Well, I think every team probably has an intention. Well, we'll certainly have a game plan going into a game. And for us and probably for the Stormers and for most teams in the competition, it's trying to hold them to the ball and play some rugby. But sometimes refereeing decisions or just the bounce of the ball doesn't go your way, and you don't get to create the opportunities that you think you're going to create before the game. So I wouldn't read too much into the fact that the previous games have gone that way. I think both teams this weekend will be going out there trying to play some good rugby. But that's what we started doing this year, and you can certainly see that from the Stormers so far.
Stephen, what's it like having a guy like David Pocock on your team? I mean, considering he was off for so long, came back better than ever, but also says rugby, you can take it or leave it. I mean, he's an interesting character.
Yeah, has he been quoted saying he could take it or leave it?
Yeah,
I think he
seems to have sort of bigger picture.
Yeah, he's got other stuff on, but he's very passionate about rugby. Yeah, he's an unbelievable player. He's a marquee player. He's one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world in his position. I think he's well respected by all players, and certainly respected by all the coaches who are lucky enough to work with him. We probably saw that last year, I guess 2 years out of the game. previous 2 years, and then last year got his opportunity to come back into Super Rugby and did a pretty good job there, and then just excelled at the next level, particularly through the World Cup. There were periods there where, as coaches, if we didn't have Poey on the field, we were pretty nervous. But when we had him on the field, we knew that pretty much knew we were going to win the game. So it's good to have players like that in your team. And this year he sort of started where he finished off last year. So he's been, for the Brumbies, I guess he's been out of the game for a while. He played last season, and good to see him come back last season. And he's just on the field. He's a match winner, and off the field he's someone who gets the most out of other players as well.
Would you say, because there was a period in Scotland who was the best number 6 in the world, who really rated him as an oversight flanker. Where do you think that Schalk is in his career now? Do you still factor him as a force on game day? Is he just experienced? Has he got some physical prowess that he still brings to the field?
Yeah, he's still got it all. He's got a new look this year, hasn't he? Shaved his head. Makes him look a little bit meaner. Yeah, he's still got it. I think players like that, players who were once best in the world, will always have it.
Stephen, in terms of the evolution of your team, where do you feel that you are? Are there still areas that you're concerned about, or do you feel this team's building to something special going forward in this campaign?
Yeah, that's the goal. I think last year we had the best defensive record any Brumbies side has ever had in the competition. I think it was probably the best record in the competition in terms of tries conceded. So we're pretty pleased with that, and we wanted to maintain that this season. Probably disappointed with a couple of the tries that we'd let in over the last couple of weeks, but it's been a strong point of our game over the last 12 months, so we wanted to maintain that. I think our focus has certainly been on trying to improve our attacking game, and we've taken some steps to doing that this year. So, there's been a lot of public and supporter-based expectation on the team this year because the roster that we've managed to maintain. But internally, we're sort of taking it game by game, and we've reviewed the game, as the boys have just said. We spent a bit of time earlier this week reviewing the game on the weekend, and there's certainly aspects of that game that we need to improve. So we're not getting ahead of ourselves. We know that it's a long competition. These guys have been together for 4 years now, so they've been through the highs and lows. We've made the finals for the last couple of years, and it's not good enough for our franchise. So we know what we've got to do, and the focus for us this week is to get to this game and play our best footy.
So Thomas Kirelli and Aiden Tuohy take over from Jesse Morgan and White.
Yeah.
Just a word on how they've fitted into the old defensive structures that you had, and then also perhaps added to what you're trying to do on attack.
Yeah, they picked it up really well. So Thomas, I guess, came in to the program pre-Christmas just to have a bit of a look around, and we didn't really get to train with him until January this year. And there were some initial concerns about the language and all that sort of stuff, but he's been fantastic. Picked up everything really quickly. Stuffed up one play last week, but that's always going to happen. But the guys are sort of rallied around him. I think that's the culture that we've got in the team at the moment. It doesn't matter where you've come from or how long you've been in the team. Everyone's accepted, and he's fitting in nicely. Aiden Tuohy, similar characteristics to Jesse, very quick. Very skillful left foot kicker, reads the game really well. So we haven't lost anything there, and in fact probably gained something because of the way Aiden fits into the team. Again, been really accepted by the players and worked really hard to try and be accepted by the players. So it's good that we've been able to fill those two positions, because there was a fair bit of talk that they were going to be key positions to fill.
Start of the season, the Stormers scrum was really dominant against the Bulls, less so against the Cheetahs, pretty much on par with the Sharks. Just thought of the set piece battle against that. Stormers, they've got 6 front row forwards that are pretty potent. Yeah,
they're good. They're good. I mean, they've been scrummaging quite well, and they're probably one of the better sides in terms of scrummaging. So we've done a lot of work on our scrummaging over the last 12 months. And feel it's come a long way, so it's going to be a great battle in that front row. Well, the whole pack really. I think you probably see that the better scrums in the competition don't just rely on the front row. They make sure everyone on the scrum is doing their job, and We saw that last year with the Stormers. They had a really strong scrum, and we're seeing it again this year.
And second row is Lou and Etzebeth and Steph Toy or Springboks. People are talking about them as potentially the next Victor and Bucky's combination.
Yeah.
Have you been that impressed by them?
No, they're doing a pretty good job, yeah.
Yeah.
They both have different qualities that they bring to the team. But you could look at every one in their pack, and they've all got something special about them. So.
Stephen, there were some comments in the wake of the World Cup about South African sides, or Springboks at least, not having the same level of ball skills as the Australasians do. Do you agree with that? And do you think that's something that can be taught, or something that sort of starts at the grassroots level?
Oh, yeah, it takes a while to sort of pick up those sorts of skills if you haven't got them by the time you become a professional. But there's a strong competition over here. It's something that's quite unique around the world. How many games do they play in schools over here each year? 30 games or something each year?
The top schools, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't get that in Australia.
Yeah.
New Zealand, you might get it as well. But yeah, the base is here. So I think probably unjustified, those accusations. I think the skill over here is good. It's just probably the style that they've adopted to play over the last couple of years is.
I'm talking specifically, obviously, handling and ball skills.
Yeah, it's all here. Again, I just think it's the style that they've been playing. You look at some of the teams over here, for example, the Cheetahs will throw the ball around and they've got unbelievable skill. They can blow anyone off the park if they get it right.
I suppose, Steve, that comes down to personnel that are available. Like you say, rugby is not the biggest game in Australia. When you were a player, you guys had to find ways to win without perhaps the same depth of physical forwards that we have in this country. We can't rely on that to give us an edge in games, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, that's traditionally been the way, hasn't it, in South Africa, kick the ball and use your forwards to dominate the other forward pack. But again, I still see that there is good skill over here, and you know, if the style changes, then there's the skill there to use that. Yeah, for us, I guess traditionally it's been more of the skill-based game. We haven't had the bigger guys. We've relied on our skill or a bit of cunning out there to try and win the games.